At 6:02 a.m., the fluorescent lights of Lancaster and Holt flickered on. The building awoke, but no one noticed the woman already inside. With practiced movements, she wheeled her cart through the empty marble lobby. Bleach, gloves, rags, and silence. Her shoes squeaked softly as she moved, a rhythm she'd long forgotten to notice. "Morning, Rosa," the security guard mumbled without looking up. She smiled kindly, not correcting him. Her name wasn't Rosa. It never had been. But it wasn't worth the trouble. Mira Diaz had been cleaning this building for 6 years. She knew every inch of it, every crooked floor tile, every chipped molding. She knew which elevators were 2 seconds slower, which boardrooms still had wine stains behind the curtains. She knew who took bribes, who flirted with interns, and who came in late hungover. But they didn't know her. To them, she was the cleaning lady, the one who moved around like furniture, noticed only when something spilled. That morning, as she scrubbed the lobby's signature mosaic floor, she overheard it again. "She's mopping the hallway again," snickered a man in a navy Armani suit. His colleague chuckled. If she put that effort into getting a real job, maybe she wouldn't be stuck with bleach hands. Mira paused just for a second, then kept scrubbing. They passed, oblivious to the fire they had just poured gasoline on. At exactly 9:17 a.m., the elevators opened and the air changed. The sea levels had arrived. Mira pushed her cart quietly into the janitor's closet, but instead of pulling out another mop, she pulled a black folder from her personal bag. On its front, a silver emblem. One the building's current executives hadn't seen in over a decade. It was the original crest of Lancaster and Holt, before it became just L&H. Mira opened the folder. Inside, a scanned copy of an old partnership contract, a founding capital ledger with her signature, a document legally transferring 51% of company shares to her. She had waited for years, watched, waited, and now the moment had come. She placed the folder in a new manila envelope, sealed it, and wrote one name on the front: Nathaniel Crane, CEO. The man who called her Rosa. Later that day, Mira took off her uniform in the locker room and replaced it with a dark navy suit. Crisp, minimal. She tied her hair back, applied soft lipstick, and walked like she was expected. Because she was. She entered the 42nd floor, where the board meeting had already begun. Eyes turned as she walked in. "Ma'am?" the secretary asked, confused. "Are you lost?" Mira smiled. "No." Nathaniel Crane looked up from his tablet, annoyed. "Who let you in? This floor is private." She dropped the envelope on the table. "You may want to read that before making assumptions," she said calmly. The board members stared. One of them, a young woman, opened the envelope. Her eyes widened. Nathaniel stood. "What is this?" "A correction," Mira said, locking eyes with him. 12 years overdue." The room went silent. Mira sat down at the head of the table. Nathaniel Crane flipped through the pages of the envelope, trying to disguise the tremor in his hands. The room was silent, save for the rustling of legal paper and the ticking of the minimalist chrome clock above the boardroom door. "Mira Diaz," he read aloud. His voice wavered. One of the board members, Annika, the only one who ever smiled at the janitorial staff, leaned forward. "This signature, it's on the founding documents." Another voice chimed in. "She owns 51%. Nathaniel looked up. This must be some kind of forgery. Mira didn't flinch. She pulled out a worn leather wallet and placed it gently on the table. From it, she produced an original business card, embossed in faded silver. Mira T. Lancaster, co-founder, Lancaster and Holt. "I changed my last name when I walked away from this place," she said. "I wanted to disappear, and I did, until now." Gasps broke out around the table. Mira Lancaster. The Lancaster and Holt. The room spun for Nathaniel, but Mira remained steady. "You bought my silence when I walked away, Nathaniel, but you never bought my shares." Back when the company was just 4 desks and a coffee maker, Mira had built everything from the ground up with her late husband, Julian Holt. Together they had written every policy, signed every deal, weathered every investor storm. But after Julian's sudden death, everything shifted. Nathaniel, once their trusted COO, began consolidating power, slowly, cautiously. He brought in new faces, shifted control, diluted votes. Mira, still grieving, retreated. Then came the offer, a payout, a promise of retirement and peace. She took it, but she never sold the shares. Instead, she changed her name. It became Mira Diaz, her mother's maiden name. She bought a modest apartment downtown and stayed quiet. But every quarter she read the reports, watched the staff turnover, saw the company morph into something unrecognizable. And when the lawsuits started coming in, sexual harassment, embezzlement, insider trading, she knew it was time to return. But not as a guest, as an owner. Back in the boardroom, Nathaniel tried to regain control. "Let's not overreact," he said, loosening his tie. "Even if this is all real, it's been over a decade. There are procedures, protocols." Mira stood. "I'm invoking Clause 7.4 of the Founders Agreement." A man from legal blinked. That's a vote of no confidence." "Correct," Mira said. "And with 51%, I don't need a majority. I am the majority." Chaos erupted. Voices clashed. Nathaniel banged the table. "This is outrageous." "No," Mira replied, calm as ever. "What's outrageous is how you laughed at the woman who cleaned your floor without knowing she paid for the floor to exist." Then she turned to Annika. "You're the only one here who ever said thank you." Annika looked stunned. Mira slid a file toward her. "Chief Operating Officer, effective immediately." The others protested. "I suggest you pack," Mira said to Nathaniel. "You'll be escorted out by security in 10 minutes. Nathaniel stared, face pale, hands shaking. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. For the first time in years, Mira felt the power of her own silence. Nathaniel Crane's polished shoes echoed down the same hallway he once marched through daily. Only this time, there was no one following him. Mira watched from the boardroom glass as security escorted him out. His shoulders slumped, the arrogance gone. "I didn't even recognize you," he muttered before the door shut behind him. Mira didn't reply. But the janitor near the lobby did. "She's not the one who changed," he said under his breath. "You are." Upstairs, the atmosphere shifted. Whispers turned to stares and stares into cautious smiles. Most employees didn't know what had just happened, only that the building's cleaning lady had walked out of the boardroom holding the CEO's chair in her hands. And by the next day, everyone would know her name. Mira's first order of business wasn't revenge. It was accountability. Within 48 hours, she reopened 3 old HR cases, ones previously settled and buried. She brought back 2 interns who were wrongfully terminated. She launched an anonymous internal audit portal. Employees were stunned. "I feel like I can breathe here again," one whispered near the vending machine. But not everyone was thrilled. Several board members held a secret meeting. "She's unpredictable," said one. "She's dangerous," added another. "She's disrupting the structure we built." A pause. "Maybe we should remove her." But Mira already knew. She had microphones installed in the executive conference room the day she took over. Not to spy, to protect. That night, she listened to their plan on her old phone, still cracked from years of use. She smiled sadly. They hadn't learned a thing. On Friday morning, Mira called a full company town hall meeting. Over 300 employees packed into the main atrium. Some still saw her as the janitor. Others knew the truth. All were curious. She stepped up to the mic, not in a suit, but in her old cleaning shoes and rolled-up sleeves. "I wore these for 6 years, she began. Silence. "I know what it's like to be unseen, to have ideas, dreams, and still be overlooked because of how you dress or what job title you have." The audience leaned in. "You've all built this company, not just the executives, and from today on, it will reflect you, not just the names on the wall." Thunderous applause erupted. And through the crowd, Mira saw Annika, not taking notes, not checking her phone, just smiling. For the first time, Mira felt what power was meant to feel like, not fear, not control, but change. Mira's rise was quiet. She didn't fire half the company. She didn't change the logo. She didn't take interviews. She just worked. Every morning at 6 a.m., she still walked the lobby. No mop this time, just memory. People began to smile at her, greet her, ask her questions. At first awkwardly, unsure how to treat the woman who once emptied their trash cans but now signed their paychecks. But the air changed. She removed the glass walls between departments. She implemented a new open-door policy, not metaphorical but literal. She had doors unhinged. She invited the kitchen staff to the quarterly reviews. Janitors were given access to the same leadership training as VPs. But the resistance came. Old guard members tried to stir unrest. They accused her of favoritism, of ruining the company's prestige. One anonymous email even claimed she's turning L&H into a charity. That night, Mira stayed late. She sat alone in the top-floor office, a room she never liked. The ceiling was too high, the walls too white. everything too clean. She opened a drawer Julian once kept locked. Inside, a letter addressed to her. If you're reading this, it means you came back. I hope they made you fight for it. I hope you stayed kind. Tears welled up. Mira folded the letter and left the office. The next morning, she had it converted into a shared team space. The CEO's new desk? In the middle of the open floor workspace, near the window with the worst glare, because she wanted to see her people, and she wanted them to see her. The whispers about Mira reached national media within a month. Ex-cleaner takes over Fortune 500 company. She mopped the hallway. Now she owns the building. The ghost founder returns. Journalists begged for interviews. Mira declined them all, until one journalist, Maya An, wrote her a handwritten letter. I was once a receptionist in a newsroom that never saw me. You inspired me to start writing again. Mira invited her to coffee. That interview changed everything. It wasn't flashy, no makeup team, no background orchestra, just two women at a cafe, talking. When the piece was published, it exploded. Not because it glorified Mira, but because it revealed a truth so many felt. That power didn't have to be loud, that success didn't need to be cruel. Hundreds of companies reached out to mirror her new model. Universities asked her to speak, but she turned most of them down. I don't want to be a symbol, she told Maya. I want to be a mirror, so others can see themselves too. In the background, Mira quietly launched a foundation, anonymously. It offered education grants for low-income workers who wanted to transition careers. The first recipient? A janitor from Queens. His dream? Becoming a lawyer. Mira sent him a handwritten note. You already know how to clean up messes. Now you'll know how to stop them before they start. Years passed. Lancaster and Holt became one of the most admired companies in the world, not for its market cap, but for its humanity. A woman named Yumi from IT was promoted to VP. The head of accounting came from the mailroom. Even Mira's old security guard, who once called her Rosa, was now head of internal training. One morning, a new intern stopped Mira in the lobby. Hi, sorry, I'm new, he said, nervous. Are you one of the founders? She smiled. I am. He hesitated. Can I ask, why you still come here at 6 a.m.? Mira looked down at the floor. The same mosaic she once scrubbed every morning for years. Because every tile, she said gently, reminds me where I started. He didn't know what to say. She patted his shoulder and walked on, toward the elevator, toward the day, toward whatever came next. And as she left, the young intern looked down, at the tile, at the floor he had walked across without thinking. And for the first time, he noticed it. Really noticed it.